Welcome to the Christian Readers Podcast, where you can escape into fiction without sacrificing your values. I'm your host, Colleen Mitchell, author of the Chronicles of Talam. In this episode, I want to go over several definitions so we're on the same page. In the reader world, there's nuance to what descriptions mean. There's arguments about why certain readerships use certain words, and judgment abounds no matter where you look. This is so we can start with a clean slate. So first off, what is appropriate? Let's look to the Apostle Paul, who said in 1 Corinthians 10:23 that while everything is permissible for Christians, not everything is beneficial. From the Berean Standard Bible Translation, everything is permissible, but not everything is beneficial. Everything is permissible, but not everything is edifying. Permissible, however, does not include obvious sins. We are not free to sin more just because we're under grace. Paul specifically speaks against that. So if we take out the clear-cut sins, then what appropriate means for a Christian is going to depend on their comfort level and how much the Holy Spirit convicts them, if they can hear the Holy Spirit at all. Let's talk definitions, starting with the word clean. This word is getting a ton of hate from the Book Talk and Bookstagram crowd, whose reading preferences consist mostly of books like Fourth Wing, ACOTAR, which stands for A Court of Thorns and Roses, and similar books with content that we should probably avoid as Christians. Clean exists on a spectrum, but simply put, clean means the book does not depict sex, whether it's between married couples or not, explicit violence, gore, or foul language. It's not just about sexual content. There are spicy books out there without obscene language or violence, and there are non-sexual books with excessive violence and or language. For me, clean means that I'm not inclined to put the book down at any point because of language, violence, or sexual content. Entire genres exist that incorporate the word clean, like sweet, clean romance or clean fantasy. For romance in particular, clean and sweet are often interchanged and mean the same thing to those readers. The primary argument people have against the word clean is that it's implying that books which are not clean are dirty. However, the opposite of a clean book or clean content in general is not dirty, but rather explicit. And that's our next word. Explicit, according to one dictionary definition, means to be fully and clearly expressed, leaving nothing implied. It's the leaving nothing implied part that's relevant for readers. When a book or a film contains explicit content, it means that if there are sex scenes, they are fully described or fully shown. If there's violence, it shows the violence happening. In audio mediums like songs or podcasts, explicit means there's foul language, where the content would be considered explicit even if foul language isn't used. Most R-rated movies are rated R because of explicit scenes. Sometimes it's for explicit language. For example, the movie Idiocracy is rated R for language and sex-related humor, but there's no actual sexual content and no real on-screen violence. In books, when a book is not clean, the opposite is explicit. These are two ends of a spectrum, for the most part, but the closer you get to the explicit end of that spectrum, the less God-honoring it is to consume that content. Spice, in reading, is a euphemism for how hot the sexual content is. A spicy book can also be referred to as an open-door book. Bookish Goblin published a rating system for spice that goes from 1 to 5 chili peppers. And chili peppers are a common thing to use for readers who are rating or reading spice. So it's very common to see chili peppers, especially in reviews or in bios on Instagram, things like that. So chili peppers is very common. This rating system from Bookish Goblin has 1 chili pepper meaning soft and sweet, 2 is low heat fade to black, 3 is steamy but subtle, 4 is hot and heavy, and 5 is more spice than plot. For Christian readers, there may be some who can tolerate up to 2 or even 3 chili peppers, but it depends on your comfort level and your convictions. However, we need to be careful not to conflate 1 or 2 chili peppers with clean. Even 1 pepper on this rating system means kissing and making out, exploration, some physical scenes, but nothing explicit. Notice the word explicit. Scenes fade to black or are skipped. So that would really be considered closed door, not clean. And this is really important. Closed door is not the same as clean. The genre of sweet, clean romance is generally swoon without steam, whereas anything that has a chili pepper on it could have some level of steam even if it's just 1 pepper. All that being said, different readers have different definitions of what each of these levels means, so knowing your definitions before you go into a book review or a conversation with other readers matters. Now, our next word is smut. Smut actually has a dictionary definition too, and it means magazines, books, pictures, films, or jokes that offend some people because they relate to sex. The synonyms for smut include filth and obscenity. Smut is a word used to describe the types of books that contain heavy spice and is, among Christian and conservative circles, the word to describe the book equivalent to porn. If we go back to the spice rating system, it's easy to see how the 3 to 5 pepper levels would be considered smut. Even though 3 peppers usually means the acts are described with euphemisms, the brain is perfectly able to translate a euphemism into what it actually means, and then picture it. The brain literally can't tell the difference between smut in written form and porn. Both activate the exact same parts of the brain. Closed door refers to romance where the spicy stuff happens behind closed doors, aka it's not explicit, though there can be scenes leading up to the door closing that make it very clear what's going to happen after the door closes. Closed door romance also is not the same as clean romance. Instagram creator Closed Door Romance is great about providing a rating system and helping readers find romance novels that do not include spice, whether or not the stories would be considered clean. DNF, which I mentioned in the last episode, is an acronym that means did not finish. I personally DNF books that grate against my convictions and values, even if they're recommended by friends or considered popular. Some readers have a really hard time with abandoning a book, but as Christians, we should not force ourselves to consume content that makes us uncomfortable, or content that would be sinful to consume just because someone else said we should, or because we believe we have to finish every book we start. The next word is gratuitous, in terms of both violence and sex. The definition that fits best for this word in the context of books and also film is that it's not called for by the circumstances. There's no reason for it, and therefore it's uncalled for. Gratuitous sex and violence in film and literature is by definition explicit, and Christians should avoid such. Most R-rated movies have gratuitous sex and/or violence. Genre is a way of categorizing creative works according to shared themes, styles, or structural elements. It establishes expectations for both the creator and the audience, guiding how stories are told and received. Examples include fantasy, romance, mystery, science fiction, action-adventure, historical fiction, and so many more. Some genres, by definition, are cleaner than others, especially when cozy subgenre elements are included. For example, a cozy mystery will likely have a murder of some sort, but you won't get all the gory details. Cozy in general as a subgenre is lighthearted, and usually the stakes are pretty low. These are the most useful definitions to know when thinking about how to choose books that you can read without sacrificing your values. And what you choose to read is going to be different from what another Christian chooses to read. The point is not to be judging each other for what we choose to read, but knowing ahead of time what to look for in order to be happy with what we pick. Now, because I write clean fiction, that is a word I will probably be using more than any other listed in this episode. If you're a Christian with a book recommendation, there's a link in the description to text me, and I would love to hear it. Thanks for listening to today's episode. If this resonated with you, please share it with your friends so they can find something new to read. God bless, and until next time, goodbye.